I've been visiting South Carolina for over 20 years because my parents moved there when they retired. And I became aware of the Gullah Geechee and started doing tours, Gullah Geechee tours, and observing basket sewing. I thought these crafts and arts were beautiful. And the more I learned and toured, the more I felt like it was an important story to be told. The Gullah Geechee are unique in terms of the descendants of enslaved Africans, in that they were able to preserve their heritage in a more intact way than other Africans. That was largely due to the geography and where they're situated on the barrier islands of the Atlantic coast. Binya means you've been here from before the bridge, and Comya means you arrived in the Low Country after the bridge was built. That idea of belonging, what does it take to belong? What does it mean to be from a place or not? How long does it take before you do feel at home and do feel a part of place? I think those are all important subjects that the project brings up as a whole. What's important is that these crafts and arts be acknowledged for the technologies that they represent and how they built the Southeastern American economy during the enslaved years, and also how the isolation of the people was able to prolong the existence of these crafts and lifestyle in general.
Okay.
So I've been doing this since I was a little girl.
Coming back here to the South Carolina to be exact, and my wife teaching me, it was as if scales fell off my eyes.
We are so interconnected as a people, and as much as slavery was a terrible institution, you never hear me say anything otherwise. But what is fascinating to me is how people came out of enslavement to sort of to manifest such excellence.
The miracle of these things being based in generational trauma, that these are tools that were made but are highly functional but also incredibly beautiful.
In my work I use Adinkra symbols, which are West African symbols. So one that I like to use a lot, and it has to do with the Gullah Geechee culture, is the Sankofa, and it's also a swirl, which means learn from your past while moving forward, because I use a lot of indigo. And so I do that to pay homage to the Gullah Geechee people that worked with indigo.
Every time you work with artists like this, you want to be sensitive to let their voice be heard. Each of these artists, they have such a unique look, and you want to make sure that their voices are coming through the final piece, and it isn't just us taking their art and making a repeat out of it.
These digitally painted vignettes are all derived from Low Country. So I have like the palmettos, the heron, egret, the live oak trees with the Spanish moss, some wild sunflowers, some swamp grass. And they're meant to kind of contextualize the baskets in the landscape. Rather than seeing them as like an object, you see them kind of as a subject in a landscape.
And my grandfather was an avid fisherman. He used cast nets, but you're used to seeing these things as just part of the cultural background of life. So to pull back and to look at these with a critical eye and work with artists in a way that, sadly, I don't think a lot of these artists are worked with in this way, where they're given sort of space and intellectual rigor and creative sort of license. That deepened the connection to me and made it really enriching, and I'm just grateful and blessed to be able to contribute it in that way.
But it's this whole idea about wherever we've gone, we've made our impact despite the traumatic, hurtful, debilitating circumstances that we've come from.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think is the real story. And I think that's what history has to lift up.
Well, embedded in all of these crafts and arts is the memory of the Western African lands that they were taken from. What maintains a heritage, what maintains that knowledge, that know-how, how to harvest rice and indigo, how to crochet nets that enable you to be a waterman and work the sea.
The one takeaway would be that these items and these pieces are all deeply creative. It is a serious intellectual art form.